Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
All right, let's cut to the chase. You know that feeling when you're just pedal to the metal, constantly pushing, and everyone around you is praising your incredible dedication? What if that very drive, that relentless go, 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 is actually a silent alarm, the first whisper of something far more insidious brewing beneath the surface? Today, we're diving deep into a topic that has quietly become a defining challenge of our always-on world, burnout. We're not just talking about feeling a bit tired, we're exploring the full, often hidden journey of how it progresses. We've got fascinating insights today from the widely recognized model by Herbert Freudenberger and Gail, which meticulously outlines 12 distinct stages. Our mission today is to give you a shortcut to truly understanding burnout's progression, from those early, seemingly innocent signs of overcommitment all the way to potential emotional and physical collapse. It's about recognizing it early to prevent lasting damage.
It's truly compelling how burnout syndrome has quietly become one of the most pervasive mental health challenges of our time. It impacts everyone, professionals, caregivers, students, and often, disturbingly, it masquerades as ambition or dedication. That's why understanding its gradual progression over time is absolutely critical.
Right. It hides in plain sight sometimes.
Exactly. The relentless pressure to perform, to succeed, to keep it all together in today's culture, whether it's through endless overtime or nonstop parenting, frequently leads to chronic stress, emotional exhaustion, and ultimately burnout. The ripple effects are profound, touching productivity, mental health, physical well-being, and our most important relationships.
So as you listen today, reflect on these stages. Can you pinpoint where you might be on this spectrum? This framework is an invaluable tool for self-awareness and, crucially, for recovery. We'll highlight the insidious danger of each stage as identified by the experts so you know exactly what to look out for. Each step slowly builds, making it exponentially harder to pull back without intervention.
Precisely. It's not a sudden cliff edge, but a gradual slope.
Okay, let's begin with stage one. Compulsion to prove oneself. This is often where it all starts: an excessive ambition, or a deep, sometimes unconscious, need to validate your self-worth, particularly in your professional life or caregiving roles. We're talking about that urge to prove you're indispensable, uniquely capable, or even better than others. Perfectionism kicks in hard. You take on more work than anyone expects, and there's little to no tolerance for rest.
Yeah, productivity becomes the sole measure of your identity.
Right.
And the danger here is society often applauds this relentless drive. It disguises a deep-seated vulnerability as sheer dedication.
This makes it almost impossible to recognize as a warning sign because you're getting positive reinforcement for behaviors that are actively harming you.
Yeah, it's like that friend who's always boasting about their 16-hour workday, and we cheer them on, not realizing they're heading down a dangerous path.
That intense drive naturally leads us into stage two, working harder. As that internal need to prove yourself intensifies, your workload inevitably swells. You're putting in longer hours, taking work home, saying yes to every single request, and your at once sacred work-life balance begins to dramatically erode. Self-care. That's now firmly on the back burner.
This stage truly normalizes stress. Feels like hustling or grinding, terms that ironically mask the early signs of burnout. Rest starts to feel like laziness, a sign of weakness, rather than an essential component of human function.
Once we're working harder and equating rest with rightness, what's often the first critical thing that falls by the wayside, even if we don't realize it's a fundamental need?
That's typically when we see the shift into stage three, neglecting own needs. Here, you start actively sacrificing personal necessities for your responsibilities. You might stop exercising, eat irregularly, lose significant sleep. Hobbies and social interactions begin to feel like unnecessary distractions, even burdens.
They feel like wasted time.
Exactly. Self-care morphs from a necessity into a luxury you simply cannot afford. You're essentially running on fumes without ever refueling.
As that internal pressure mounts and we push our needs aside, our minds often find a way to cope, leading us to stage four, displacement of conflicts. With all this internal stress building, you start to dismiss or actively avoid emotional problems. Irritability rises. You might find yourself blaming others or external circumstances for how you feel.
Yeah, pointing fingers.
Right. Conflicts, whether at work or at home, get brushed aside or ignored. Instead of confronting and solving root causes, you just keep pushing forward, pretending everything's fine. Can you feel how that internal tension starts to simmer, even if you're not outwardly acknowledging it?
Oh, absolutely. That ignored emotional stress becomes internalized tension, turning your psyche into a pressure cooker with no release valve. This significantly increases your risk of a mental breakdown, as the system simply can't sustain that kind of internal pressure indefinitely.
With that intense, narrow focus firmly established, we inevitably carve out a new reality, leading us to stage 5, revision of values. Your priorities shift, often unconsciously. Work, performance, or caregiving becomes the absolute center of your identity. Everything else, family, friends, personal passions, spiritual life, even fun, loses importance. You might genuinely feel there's no time for anything but your main duty.
And what's crucial to understand here is that this narrow focus on achievement often leads to a profound emotional detachment from your true values and loved ones. You slowly, almost imperceptibly, lose sight of what truly matters to you outside of that singular pursuit.
That sounds quite lonely, actually.
It really can be.
Which brings us to stage 6, denial. This stage is deeply characterized by emotional disconnection and a strong defensiveness. You deny anything is wrong, even when close friends, colleagues start expressing genuine concern. You might grow cynical or impatient, brushing off any suggestion that you might need help. Emotional numbness, sarcasm, or a pervasive sense of meaninglessness may start to creep into your daily life. It's like we put on blinders, isn't it? Even when friends start to notice, we're the last to see the problem.
It's incredibly common. Denial actively blinds you to warning signs, allowing burnout to deepen unchecked. It's a critical point where self-awareness is not just diminished, but actively resisted, pushing away any opportunity for intervention.
As that denial takes root and the emotional numbness grows, what's the natural yet devastating next step in this progression?
That's usually stage 7, withdrawal. Social withdrawal becomes the new norm. You begin to actively avoid people, responsibilities, and any social interactions. Isolation, paradoxically, starts to feel like a relief, but it's driven by overwhelming exhaustion, not actual peace or preference.
So it's not introversion, it's overwhelm.
Exactly. You cancel plans, skip meetings, pull away from family and friends. Even hobbies and activities you once loved feel draining, like a chore rather than a joy.
This withdrawal must really compound the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This isolation can lead directly to depression, anxiety, and a profound loss of perspective on what truly matters. It creates a self-reinforcing downward spiral.
And as we descend deeper, it impacts the way we present ourselves to the world. We then see stage 8, behavioral changes. At this point, the changes become glaringly obvious to others, even if you're still in denial. You may become notably irritable, emotionally volatile, or completely flat.
Yeah, the mask starts slipping.
Productivity plummets, deadlines are missed, responsibilities are actively avoided. Some individuals turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms like increased alcohol consumption, drugs, or maybe escapist habits like binge watching, excessive gaming, or overeating.
These behaviors are, as you said, often desperate coping mechanisms, masking a much deeper emotional and psychological collapse. They're not solutions, they are further symptoms of profound distress, and often create new problems on top of the burnout.
That robotic feeling, that sense of just going through the motions, leads directly into stage 9, depersonalization. Here, you start to feel profoundly disconnected from your own identity, from other people, and from life itself. You are emotionally numb, truly just going through the motions.
Like watching your life from the outside.
Yes. Any sense of joy, meaning, or purpose is conspicuously absent. You may feel robotic, empty, or utterly unrecognizable to yourself.
This is a critical turning point. Without significant help, this level of detachment can lead to clinical depression or even a full-blown psychological crisis. It's a severe detachment from self and reality.
As that depersonalization deepens, what fills the void? Or does anything?
Often it's stage 10, inner emptiness. An overwhelming sense of an inner void sets in. You might experience severe panic attacks, intense anxiety, or a continuation of that debilitating emotional numbness. Compulsive behaviors often intensify as you desperately try to fill that profound emotional emptiness. Life feels utterly flat, colorless, or completely devoid of any meaning.
That must be terrifying. Just empty.
It is. This stage almost always requires professional help to break the cycle and begin healing. It's often beyond what individual effort can easily remedy alone.
Nearing the absolute end of this journey, we hit stage 11, depression and despair. By this stage, burnout is fully and intricately intertwined with clinical depression. You feel utterly hopeless, helpless, and deeply physically exhausted. Thoughts of escape or even suicide may sadly begin to emerge.
Mm.
Daily tasks that once seemed simple now feel impossible. There's a profound, almost crushing grief over a lost identity or purpose.
This is unequivocally a life-threatening mental health crisis. It demands immediate and serious attention from medical and mental health professionals. There's no ambiguity here.
And finally, the devastating culmination. Stage 12, complete burnout, emotional and physical collapse.
Right. Burnout, left untreated, reaches a point where it completely disables normal functioning. Your body, unable to cope with the prolonged stress, often begins to manifest serious physical illnesses. Think autoimmune conditions, chronic fatigue syndrome, severe digestive issues, frequent infections.
So it becomes physically debilitating too.
Absolutely. You become utterly unable to function without serious, sustained rest, therapy, and often medical care. This is not weakness. It is a clear, undeniable signal that the system, your body and mind, has hit its absolute limit. Only through radical lifestyle change, structured recovery, and ongoing support can true healing begin.
Wow, that's quite a journey from just wanting to prove yourself. So as you listen to these 12 stages, truly reflect for a moment. Do any of them resonate with your own experience or perhaps with someone you know? Recognizing where you might be on this path is the incredibly powerful first step towards reclaiming your well-being. Now, it's easy to use terms like stress, burnout, and depression interchangeably, but you mentioned earlier how important it is to understand the crucial differences. Could you break that down a bit more?
Absolutely. While they can overlap and influence each other, their primary triggers and most effective treatments differ significantly. Think of burnout as primarily triggered by chronic role overload or overwork.
Okay, so specifically related to a role.
Yes, often. This leads to key emotional signs like pervasive cynicism and deep exhaustion. The treatment focuses on genuine rest and a fundamental shift in lifestyle. It's often, though not exclusively, work-related.
Got it. So burnout is that deep, draining exhaustion specific to chronic overexertion in a particular role. What about stress?
Right. Chronic stress, on the other hand, is generally triggered by any form of external pressure. It could be work, relationships, finances, you name it. Its emotional signs are typically heightened irritability and anxiety.
More agitated, less exhausted, maybe?
Sometimes, or a different kind of exhaustion. Treatment here focuses on managing those specific stressors and developing coping strategies. While it can be work-related, it can also stem from a myriad of other external pressures.
Okay, and depression, that feels distinct again.
Yes. Depression often has deeper roots in emotional or neurochemical imbalances or significant life events that may or may not be directly tied to workload. The emotional signs are profound hopelessness, persistent sadness, and often a loss of pleasure in all activities, not just the ones related to the source of stress.
A more global loss of joy.
Exactly. Treatment here typically involves therapy and often medication. It's not always work-related, and its onset can be entirely independent of your workload. Burnout can be a pathway to depression, absolutely, but they are distinct conditions. Understanding this distinction is vital for choosing the right recovery strategy and getting the right kind of help.
That's a really helpful clarification. Now, what's fascinating here is that while we often link burnout directly to demanding jobs, the experts are clear. This isn't just a workplace issue. Where else do we see this playing out?
Well, what's critical to realize is that burnout is fundamentally a life overload issue. Wherever you're expected to give constantly without adequate recovery, you're vulnerable. We see this vividly in caregiver burnout, where providing constant physical and emotional care for a loved one without breaks leads to profound emotional drain, physical exhaustion, and often overwhelming guilt.
That must be incredibly tough.
It is. Symptoms include chronic fatigue, irritability, and social isolation. Then there's parental burnout, driven by the immense pressure to do it all, raising children, managing the household, potentially working a job all without sufficient time for self-recharge.
The superparent myth.
Exactly. This can lead to emotional detachment, deep resentment, or pervasive emotional numbness. And it's not just adults. Students face academic burnout from high expectations, relentless deadlines, exams, and social pressures. This causes anxiety, apathy, and a sense of hopelessness, often manifesting as skipping classes, heavy procrastination, or a complete loss of motivation.
So it really cuts across different life roles. And for those of us in the workforce or maybe leading teams, what about the environment we're operating in? The source highlights some key factors there too, right?
Indeed. Workplace culture plays an enormous role. Toxic traits that actively fuel burnout include things like micromanagement and a stifling lack of autonomy.
Feeling controlled.
Yes. Unrealistic expectations for output, a lack of recognition for effort, feeling invisible, and the always-on digital culture that relentlessly blurs work-life boundaries.
That constant connectivity.
Conversely, a healthy workplace culture actively prioritizes things like accessible mental health days, offers flexible work hours, fosters transparent communication, and crucially, encourages employees to set and maintain healthy boundaries. These elements are not just nice-to-haves, they are fundamental for preventing widespread burnout in any organization.
Okay, so recognizing the signs in ourselves, knowing the differences between burnout, stress, and depression, and understanding it can happen outside work, how do you know if you were on this path? The source provides some quick questions for a powerful self-assessment. Ask yourself, do I feel physically or mentally exhausted even after resting or taking a break? That's a big one.
Yeah, rest doesn't seem to help.
Exactly. Have I lost interest or joy in activities I used to enjoy? Am I avoiding social interactions, tasks, or responsibilities that used to feel perfectly manageable? Do I feel emotionally numb, like I'm just getting through the day rather than truly living it? If you answered yes to 2 or more of these, you may very well be moving through 1 or more stages of burnout. And for a more structured professional evaluation, tools like the MASLAC Burnout Inventory, MBI, or the Burnout Assessment Tool, BAT, these are standardized assessments used by professionals can provide deeper insight.
So if someone recognizes these signs, what can they actually do? Because it can feel overwhelming. Burnout recovery is not a sprint. It's a gradual, deeply personalized journey that demands patience, consistency, and above all, self-compassion. We could look at it as a progressive framework, maybe week by week initially.
Okay, like a roadmap.
Sort of. In week 1, awareness and rest, the crucial first step is just acknowledging you're burned out. Give yourself explicit permission to stop and truly rest. Cancel non-essential tasks. Prioritize fundamental needs like sleep, hydration, and maybe just doing nothing.
Permission to stop, that's huge.
It really is. By week 2, connection and reflection. You should actively seek to talk to someone, a therapist, a trusted friend, a mentor, someone outside your head. Begin journaling about your feelings, energy levels, and any triggers you identify. In week 3, rebuild health. Start gently reintroducing healthy routines. Regular nutritious meals, light movement like walking, consistent hydration. Engage in small, genuinely joyful activities, listening to music, spending time in nature, picking up a forgotten hobby. Crucially, avoid overstimulation. Don't jump back into everything at once.
Small steps.
Tiny steps. And for week 4 and beyond, set boundaries for long-term wellness. This is where you redefine your limits in work or caregiving. Learn the art of saying no without guilt. Design a weekly routine that intentionally balances rest, purposeful work, meaningful connection, and genuine play.
That sounds like a powerful, actionable roadmap broken down into manageable steps. It feels less daunting that way.
It is. But remember, recovery is rarely linear. Some days will undoubtedly feel better than others. The key is to consistently make choices that genuinely serve your long-term well-being. And to address a few common questions people have, can burnout be prevented? Absolutely. By setting clear boundaries, actively listening to your body's signals, managing stress proactively, and relentlessly prioritizing that work-life balance.
So prevention is possible.
Definitely. What truly helps with recovery, professional therapy or counseling is often key, fundamentally improving sleep, nutrition, and daily routines, actively reconnecting with supportive people, and taking dedicated time to rest and rediscover joy. And how long does recovery take? It truly varies. Mild burnout might see significant improvement in weeks with focused rest, but severe burnout can take many months or even longer, often requiring sustained professional support. Consistency and self-compassion throughout the process are paramount.
That's a really important point about self-compassion. It's not a race.
Not at all.
So as you reflect on these powerful insights today, what's resonating with you thinking about your own life? Understanding these 12 stages isn't just knowledge. It empowers you to act early, to make critical changes, and to protect your well-being before burnout becomes a full, debilitating collapse.
Remember these fundamental truths. You are not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You are profoundly not alone. Millions silently face burnout every single day. And most importantly, it is never, ever too late to take decisive action and begin your journey toward healing.
You don't have to push through until you break. You deserve rest, not guilt. You deserve balance, not burnout. You deserve a life that sustains you, that nourishes your spirit, not one that relentlessly drains you dry. If you're seeing yourself in these symptoms or feeling a flicker of recognition, please pause now and make your healing a priority. You matter. So here's something to think about. What's one boundary you can set, or one small moment of genuine rest you can reclaim, starting today, to shift away from the dangerous path of burnout?
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.